Saturday, and I am in my office still collecting things, organizing things from this week. But I wanted to take a moment to give a little coffee talk, and I wanted to talk about telling the truth, speaking the truth, in a time when so many speak their truth, whatever best fits them in the moment. Um, what do we do? How do we speak the truth? Do we just join the crowds and speak our truth, or do we continue to find ways to speak truth? That's what I want to talk about today. To speak the truth. You know, in recent times, I feel like just currently in our politics, if you're paying any attention at all, you will notice that there are times when someone will 100% tell you one thing, and within a week will 100% tell you the exact opposite and expect you to believe it. I'm talking about politics. And even like the news media and other things will often do this, where you're just like, but you said last time. Hi, Daniel. Thanks for joining me. You said not so long ago. And so there's actually right now, like if you go on X especially, there's people dredging up this stuff. And so you'll have somebody show what somebody said a week ago or 4 years ago or 8 years ago. And then right next to it, they'll put in what they said yesterday or today. And it can be directly opposite of itself. And so from a political perspective, it seems that truth is very subjective. It's just whatever best serves the party in the moment. From a media news cycle perspective, there is a little bit of the same thing going on, where it seems that the same editor or the same journalist can sometimes tell you exactly opposite things. And now, to be fair, a proper journalist should be reporting on what is being said and done in places, and not actually be setting himself up as the objective truth of what should be said or should be happening. But I still do see it, where there's like reversals just in the headlines, even of where the way a headline is spun one moment makes someone appear amazing, the next moment tears them down, and coming from the same organizations. And so the way that we either tell truth or don't tell the truth is a fascinating thought to think about, purely from the perspective of, I'm a dad and I'm working with my sons and my one little daughter, and I want them to be able to tell the truth and to speak truth. When one of us says something to the other within our family, I want us all to be able to trust and know that what is being said is real, that it's substantive, and that it's actually true. And so, on a very, very deep level, when I tell my children I love you, I want them to know that I love them. I want them to not one day show up and say, Dad didn't actually ever love me. He was just using me for his own whatever gains. Good morning, Joe. Thanks for joining me. So that's what I wanted to talk about a minute, is how do we defend that? Like, I had one son who, it was amazing because he couldn't tell a lie. And then a certain age hit and suddenly it clicked. And then he could start to try to tell a lie, but you could still see it in his eye that he was not quite telling the whole truth. And so when we say something like, I will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, if we're truly going to say the whole truth, and like if I'm on oath and you say, hey, what did you see on Hackberry Ridge last week? If I'm going to tell you the whole truth, I need to tell you a linear line. Well, I was riding my bike and I was going up the street, and as I approached Hackberry Ridge, I saw two boys playing in the yard on the right-hand side of the street. On the other hand side of the street, I saw a lady getting in her car, and as she was backing out of the car, out of her driveway, I saw a man in his pickup coming down, and he was going too fast, and I saw them collide. And so I could just say, well, I saw so-and-so crash into so-and-so. But if I'm telling you the whole truth, I probably have to tell you the linear sequence of events. And I remember years ago, there was a time when I was working out of, it was over in the Marble Falls area of Texas. I was working with Mr. Clarkson and his Clarkson Company HVAC. And one night we were driving home from having worked on some cars, and we were headed back out to his house out in the Burnett area. And as we were driving along, there were three boys playing on one side of the street, and as we were going, there was a truck coming from the other direction. Well, two of the boys had run across the street, like in front of us, in front of the truck. It's like plenty of time, but the third boy had vacillated. He had waited. He was not certain. He was not sure. And so the moment we were past, he then decided, yes, he can do it too, and he took off running. And so the truck that was coming from the other direction actually hit him. And I remember us stopping, and it really messed up his leg. I think he ended up getting an amputation on his leg. Did not kill the boy, but lost a leg. And I remember that when the officers came, they took, you know, everybody's information that was in the air, you know, that had seen it. So later I get a phone call from, I'm assuming, the county or whatever, and they're trying to restructure what had actually happened. And so what was so clear to me at the time is they asked me, well, just tell me what happened. Tell me what you saw. And so I'm going down and I'm telling them what I saw. So I'm on the phone and I'm just recreating in my mind what I saw. And then there was a part of it that I said that afterward I started thinking, there's no way I could have seen it. What I said was, so you have to imagine, like there's the two vehicles. And so here's the big truck. And as the big truck is coming, we're coming here, and so there's the road, and they're trying to cross over here. And so the boys run across in front of us, and the other one waits. And so as we're coming closer and closer, we are already past the point by the time the little boy runs out in front of the other truck. I was describing what the little boy did as he ran into the street, that he looked up, he saw the truck, and then the truck, it was too late, the truck hit him, all that stuff. From my perspective of where I actually was, there was no way that I could see the little boy because the truck was between me and the little boy. There was no way I could see that. But in my memory, I thought I had seen this. And so while I was trying to tell the whole truth, I found myself adding things that I had felt or that I had imagined that weren't actually part of what I had seen. And I remember hanging up the phone later after I was done with the, you know, they were asking me all the questions. And as I went out, I was thinking, well, what did I see? I just told them I saw the expression on the little boy's face. I couldn't have seen the expression on the little boy's face. And so telling the truth is, to some extent, going to be coming from your perspective, from your experience. So if we take, 20 people and they all grew up in the old order Amish of America, and we get each of them to tell their story, there will be some things that will be true across the board. And then there will be a few things that one person will say that they felt. And this can even happen within the same family, where you can have one sibling who will say, well, my dad didn't actually beat us physically, but he was emotionally abusive, or whatever they'll say. And the other kid will say, no, he wasn't. He was kind. He was good. Like, well, I don't know what you're talking about. And you'll have this kind of subjectiveness coming from people trying to tell you what happened in the same area. And so knowing that, and knowing that every one of us is a bit colored by our own prejudices, our own experience, our own emotions, and the things we feel, is it worth trying to tell the objective truth? And of course, that's a rhetorical question, because I do think it's worth talking. Hey, Peter, are you looking for someone?
I'm looking for several things. Do you know what the light stencils are?
The light stencils. They're in the,
Yeah.
There's a theater book in the top drawer there.
Okay.
And it's in it's somewhere in either the theater folder or the theater book in there. Peter just had his 12th birthday, and part of his birthday he got some more LED lights and a lighting controller, so he can control lights better for doing shows and other things. It's like DJ lights right now. So it should either be in that book or in one of the folders that's in there.
Okay.
They're both together. When you find one, you should find both of them. Might be a folder. So, speaking about telling the truth, and is it worth fighting for? Like, because what bothers me, honestly, is how in politics, if my opponent or my enemy tells a lie, I'm all over it. Look, he told a lie. He's not telling the truth. But then when my own candidate, the one that I'm supporting, either stretches the truth or fabricates something or says something, then I'm quick to say, well, you know, from his perspective, blah, 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 and this is why it's probably okay, and it's not a problem. I should have the same standard for everyone. Like, at my house, we try to speak the truth to each other. There's times when it doesn't work quite right, where we miscommunicate and we have to apologize and we have to clarify and we have to actually speak the truth. And so if this is what I'm trying to teach my boys...
Found it, Papa.
Okay, good. You got them? Awesome. If this is what I'm trying to teach my boys, and then on a public figure level, there are people who don't seem to care about the truth, like, that's not helping me train my boys if they can say, well, I don't have to tell the truth because, you know, our presidential candidates don't tell the truth. Our representatives in the House and in the Senate, they don't tell the truth. So why should I have to tell the truth? It's a good question. Why do we tell the truth? Why do I strive to speak the truth? And on a very basic level, it comes down to the fact that if I serve God, and if God is true, and we have that scripture, let God be true and every man a liar, and it's pretty much the truth. God is true, and there's been lots of men who have, and even some of the best men I know, have had struggled with lying, including myself and other of my mentors that have struggled with being able to tell the truth fully. How are you doing? Oh, I'm great. I'm fine. Are you really? I'm talking about every kind of lie, and I've had people tell me point blank, Joseph, we've got to have white lies for society to work. I don't think so. I think there is a place to say that I serve the living God who said, Jesus himself said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. I think there is got to be a way that we can tell the truth, that we can stand for truth, that we can be truth, that we can learn how to speak truth, that we do not have to live by any lies, that we do not have to speak lies, that we don't have to just accept lies. I think we can actually speak the truth. If we all did it, it would be a different world. If you're having to tell lies because someone's going to get upset, that's a deeper problem here. If you're trying to protect someone's feelings and you're tiptoeing around and you're kind of not telling the truth because it would hurt them, well, we have a deeper problem than that's going on here. But one of the things is we need to be able to love the truth, to speak the truth. And so in our family, we don't want to make each other feel better by telling lies, because in the long term, that doesn't actually pay out. And so within Christianity, our goal is not to speak lies just to make each other feel good. We're trying to figure out how to speak the truth in love. How do we actually tell the truth to one another? And so that is a process. Some people are very good at just speaking the truth, just saying what they think. In fact, as I was thinking about this, and we say, I'm going to speak the truth, the whole truth. Well, sometimes in relationships, we don't just tell everybody everything we've ever thought. We tell the truth, but we don't necessarily, and especially, let me just think about a casual relationship. Like, what did you do this week? Well, if I was to launch into a detailed list of every single thing that I did this week, from putting on my underwear to brushing my teeth to every little detail of everything I did, that is not the intent of your question. What did you do this week? You were asking me, did I have anything interesting and exciting? What happened? What were the big strokes? What did you do this week? Well, I went kayaking. I painted a kitchen out in Golden. I did a few things like that. Okay, that's what I want to know. I was editing. Okay, good. you're not asking me for a detailed breakdown of every little thing I did. And so we have to learn to sometimes restrain ourselves to not just say everything we know. And this is something that I feel like for myself is probably harder than for some people. Because if you start chatting with me and you ask me a few questions, I'll just keep telling you things. I'll just keep telling you more and more and more. And then so-and-so said this, and then I felt this, and then I ate that, and then I drank this, and then I slept here, and then I did that, and then I took a nap, and then whatever. I'll just start talking and talking, and you'll be like, that was way more than I needed to know. Yeah. So I have to learn how to speak the truth in a helpful, constructive way. And we have in the movie we made a couple years ago, We Three Kings, we actually put in a little bit of a joke in this way. It's a bit of humor, but it has to do with just saying what comes to your mind. So I have that clip here, I think, if I can make this work correctly. So we're going to try to play this and see if you can catch where the little boy is telling too much truth. Well, I have the media here, and I need... That almost worked. I'll try again. There we go.
We brought you a cake because we're sorry.
Cake? Sorry? Whatever has possessed you now?
Ma'am, we haven't done anything bad. But I saw you in the graveyard and we saw the tombstones of your husband and your children, and that's why we think you're a grumpy old lady. Charles! But it's true.
There we go. And that's why we think you're a grumpy old lady. And she says, Charles! And Charles says, but it's true. So do we just tell every bit of truth just because we know it's true? How do we deal with this? And I think this is where we need to take Scripture into application, and we need to think through this. We have this famous verse here, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. It's interesting because the verse right before it, Jesus said to those Jews who believed in him, if you abide in my word, you are my disciples indeed. So there's something about the word of Jesus that makes it where if we abide in his word, we are his disciples. And then he says, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. So this is more than just knowing something a little bit. This is abiding in him. This is knowing the truth, and it will make you free. And so sometimes, I know my dad talked about this when I was younger. He would say, not every bit of, just because something's true doesn't mean that it's going to make you free. And so, you know, if you're just repeating gossip, and every time someone says, really? Why are you saying this stuff? You say, well, because it's true. Is it the sort of truth that sets free? Is it the truth that comes from abiding in the creator of the universe? And so with my boys, I am just pretty honest with the fact when we talk about politicians and political leaders, we say, you know, there's a lot of people who, for whatever reason, do not love the truth, and they're willing to lie to try to make themselves look better, or they're willing to lie to put themselves forward. And it's a real problem. So I want my sons to not just settle and say, well, I guess everyone's doing it, so I guess I'll tell the lies too. But to learn how to speak the truth. But then beyond just speaking the truth, to say, how do I speak the truth that will make free indeed? How do I tell truth to other people so that it's truly helpful for them? And so that's where I discovered is that if you ask me, you know, how's your week going, or how are you doing, Joseph, or what did you, and I just start telling you every family secret and every little thing I know, it's going to make it very, very difficult for you to sort out from the multitude of words that's coming out of me what is actually truth that's helpful. And so if you ask me how I'm doing and I say, well, I'm actually doing pretty well, you know, busy season, but doing well. Or I say, depending what's going on in my life, I say, you know, our family's going through a rough time financially, but we're doing good in every other way. Or you might ask me how I'm doing, and depending on who you are, I'll be like, well, financially, we're actually doing okay. Things are okay, and I'm actually able to work on the projects that I believe God wants me to working on right now, and that's good. I've had to say no to a few things. Those might be useful, and so depending on the depth of our relationship and our friendship or our past experience, for instance, if you and I used to see each other all the time in whether it's with an organization or with a church or, you know, something, or even just at a same time, same place, or store, or a job, we're working together, and now we don't ever see each other anymore, and we haven't actually talked since then, it might be appropriate for me to go back and say, well, so when I left back in 20 whatever, here's what I've done since then, and I catch you up to speed. And so now I've told you things because we had shared experience. That's trust. That's faith. I'm depending on you to sort out of that and understand why I'm sharing it with you. I think a good example of, you don't have to say everything that's true. Like, you're a grumpy old lady. We figured it out finally. This is why. And the lady says, Mrs. Delvina says, well, the boy is right. She says that in the movie, in We Three Kings. The boy is right. And it, you know, we let it work things out. And sometimes in life, speaking an uncomfortable truth is what it takes. And someone says, well, you know, you're right. That is correct. But if we don't think it's necessary to tell the truth, if we think we just say whatever works to try to put myself forward, advance myself, there is no standing. And so every time I meet you, I have to try to remember, well, what did I tell you last time? And I can't just tell you what's on my heart. And so the beauty of learning to speak the truth is that I'm going to tell you the same thing that I tell the next guy and that I tell the other person. And we're going to, everywhere I go, I'm going to be sharing the same thing. It's a level, the question is, how much of it do I share? How deep do I go? And so I have a sort of a 30,000 foot view when you say, what's Joseph Graber doing with his life? Well, I am called to make disciples, to be a pastor and a filmmaker, to tell stories, to communicate truth. That's what I'm called to do. I'm also a father, and I'm raising some children, and I'm learning how to walk with and love my wife. We're 13 and a half years married, and so I will tell you that in a brief way. Now, if you are, you know, maybe one of my pastor mentors, and I say, you know, and so at different times in my past 13 and a half years, I might say, I'm really struggling to understand how to love my wife in this circumstance. How do I do this? And I'll share more details with them than I would with you. Financially speaking, depending who you are, I'll be like, hey, have you ever dealt with this? I have some questions about this. If you're a filmmaker, I'm probably going to go deeper into this. If you knew nothing about film, I'll say, you know, I've been trying to edit this project for a year, and I had to take like a 3-month break at one point, but I'm really struggling to put this together. If you've made a documentary before, I'll be like, you know that part in documentary filmmaking where you've captured all the things and you think you know what you're doing, and you start putting it together in the timeline, and then suddenly you're just pretty sure that you hate the project, you hate the idea, you don't want to do anything. Yeah, that's where I am right now. But I won't tell that to just everybody. I just kind of did. But I'm not actually there right now. I've been there, but I'm actually at a really good place in the edit of the project where I'm making forward progress. I'm putting things together. I'm designing some of the graphics that go with it, some of the timelines and other things. And I'm excited about where the project is going to go. And I'm hopeful that I can make some real progress here in the next couple of weeks. All right. So all of this to say that for myself, and you might be in a different boat, but for myself, it is easier to just multiply words and tell you more and more and more stuff that might detract from what is the truth. And if I can learn to not just speak everything on my mind, but to weigh and say, is this the truth that will set us free? Is this helpful in this moment? That could be very useful for me to say less words. There's a whole bunch of you that you don't speak enough. You don't speak up enough. You often have thoughts and ideas here, and you're like, oh, it wouldn't help even if I did say it, it wouldn't make a difference. And that's where I want to encourage you. When you find yourself, for whatever reason, being like, no, I'm not going to say anything, blah, 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 you know, just nope, nope, nope. There are real reasons why we need to hear from you. And so you need to be willing to speak the truth. And especially if every voice is going with the lie, with the lie, with the lie, and you're like, hold on a second. What your guys are saying and doing is not right, and it's not truth. Here's the truth. We need your voice. We need people to be willing to say, why are we embracing the lies? Why are we letting people slide with lies? And I mean this from the coffee shop that you get your coffee at, to the auto parts store counter where people come to shoot the breeze. Everywhere you go, there are people, and some of them are just propagating lies, and they need the quiet, thoughtful person in our midst to say, hold on, that's not quite true. We need to speak the truth. And it actually does matter whether our politicians tell the truth. They don't have a free pass to be able to tell lies. So even though they're doing it, it's not right. And it's not good for our society. And it's not good for us as a nation. And it is one way that a nation can come crashing to the ground, is if no one knows how to speak the truth and everyone is just speaking lies. It's not okay. So we need to stop excusing our candidates and our leaders, and we need to start saying, no, that wasn't true. Speak the truth. You might also have to throw in, like I have to with my boys, and say, okay, that's true, but it's not kind. Can you rephrase that? Speaking the truth is absolutely necessary. And if our nation can't figure out how to speak the truth about who we are and what we've done and still be kind to one another, we lose. We lose freedom, because the truth will set us free. Lies will put us in bondage. It's lies that make bondage. And that's from the highest levels of government to the child in the most humble home in America. We've got to speak the truth, because the truth brings freedom. Lies bring bondage. It's been proven over and over again. So I don't know how you're doing in your personal life. Are you speaking the truth? Or are you hiding the truth in your heart and never letting anyone see it? What are you doing with it? We need to learn how to speak the truth and not to go along with lies. Those are just a few of my Saturday morning thoughts. And it sure would make it nicer for my sons if I could say, I want you to be a man who speaks the truth, who stands for what is right, and if I could point to some of our national leaders and say, like this man, that would be awesome. But currently, the national leadership landscape is littered with people who are willing to waffle and go back and forth and make accusatory statements and anything for their own advancement. And I hesitate to say this, but I just don't think that we have very many people on the national stage who are actually truth tellers. They will tell it if it fits their narrative. But we need people who will speak the truth even when it doesn't fit their own narrative. That's what we need. And that's what I'm trying to be for myself. And that's the kind of man I want my sons to grow up to be. Speak the truth, even if it seems to be at my disadvantage. We want the truth. We want to know what's actually happening. Because in the truth, you will know the truth. And the truth will set you free. The truth shall make you free. So, go figure out whether or not you're telling the truth right now, and figure out what you must do to stop telling the lies and start telling the truth. It might require humility. It might require you going back to someone and say, you know, I didn't verify this thing. I have a few more thoughts, but they fit more into the idea of church history, and so I might come back and revisit church history and how do we know what's true and what's not true. But until next time, speak the truth and learn how to do it in love, but speak the truth. Talk to you then.